Hey everyone, it's me, Rami Marks, your tangled yogi out here in Northern California. Welcome to week 3 of the Seekers of Sweetness series. I'm so excited to share this with you. So let's go ahead and talk about the things that we're going to need for class. I'm going to be working with a Micron PN pen. This is my Pigma pen, but you know that they're exactly the same pen. I'll also be working with a IdentiPen. This is going to be great for pooling our ink in the background. I'll be working with a white gel pen. This is the Mizu Love, but you can use the Sakura white jelly roll. I'll also be working with a graphite pencil and a blending stump. If you don't have a blending stump, don't worry about it. Just grab a Q-tip out of the bathroom. You know me, I'm a Prismacolor girl, so grab your Prismacolor pencils. We're going to be having a lot of fun with this. And hey, if you don't have Prismacolors, just grab the color pencils that you have and play along. Now, the template is located in the class description below the video. All you have to do is click on the More button and you'll see the link in there. You can click on that, download the template, and you're good to go. If you don't have the ability to make the template, just draw a rectangle that's 6 inches by 3 inches and then draw the little hummingbird and play along with us. All right? I hope you enjoy the class. Let's get started. So many of you know that I like to start with a little gentle breathing exercise before we have class. So just take a moment to take a comfortable seated position and allow your shoulders to melt away from your ears. Let your spine grow tall and let your hands rest in your lap. And just let your attention come to your breath. And just feeling your breath as it rolls in and as it rolls out. As you inhale, feel the body expand. And as you exhale, feel the release. And just staying with your breath here for a few moments. And as you breathe, I'm going to share a quote. And the quote goes like this: "You are Mr. Owl, and I am Mrs. Hummingbird. We have come from different species, but as long as you're a bird, I'm a bird too." And in this world where we're feeling so divided these days, let's just all be hummingbirds, shall we? Taking in a nice deep breath right here. And a nice slow exhale. And in your own timing, wiggling in the fingertips and wiggling in the toes, and adding vision back into your practice. And let's begin. So let's jump right in, shall we? We're going to learn a really fun tangle. This is called Birie, and this is by one of my favorite tanglers, Alina Light. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a stem here. So it's just going to be a very soft stem, just like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up towards the top and create a little petal, not unlike poke leaf. We've done poke leaf many times. And then I'm going to come in and give it a very gentle aura. Now once I have that, I'm going to just slide down the side of this here and create another leaf. And then I'll come in and I'll create another aura. I'm going to slide down the side of this one, coming in, and then once again creating this very soft aura. I'll go down the other side and do the same, and you'll notice that I'm getting them to kind of meet up here. Just sliding off the side here and creating this very soft pattern. Isn't that fun? So that's Birie. So let's bring it into the piece here. So I'm going to start by making a Birie that is just coming like right underneath where the tail is here. You can see I'm kind of showing you where that idea is going to come from. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this kind of soft waved line that's going to go off into the corner here. And then I'm going to do the other line to create that beautiful stem. Once I have that, I'm going to start to create that poke leaf shape. Right there. And then I'll start to do the aura. So you can see that I'm just going to come in and just drop back in. And one more time, and dropping back in. So I'm going to use this area here to jump off. So I'm going to come in and dive back in. You can see that it creates this leaf-like shape in here. And then I'm just creating a really soft aura. I'm going to dive off the top of that and jump in, creating these leaf-like shapes, jumping off, coming back down, and giving it a soft aura. Coming over to the other side here, I'm going to make that leaf kind of touch down. My pen isn't working very well here. Story of my life. So letting those join in, jumping off the side, coming in. Once again, nice soft aura. And then coming in over here, nice soft aura. So if you need to pause me here, this is a great place to do it. I'm going to do another one here, so if you want to just watch, you can. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start to build this really soft stem coming down, and we're going to get some hollybaw out of that. And hollybaw just means we're going to get underlap and overlap. It's just a little Zentangle speak for those of you new to Zentangle. So here I go, creating that leaf-like shape right up at the top here, getting that nice aura right around the side. And then once again, I'm just going to dive off and come back in. This pen is leaving something to be desired. And then I'm going to jump off. You can see I'm going to hollybaw. See how I picked up? I'm going to come out the other side. I'm going to do a little aura, pick up, come out the other side. And now I'm just going to pretend that those leaves are going right behind. I love the way that looks. It gives it such a whimsy, doesn't it? Let's come over here and do the same. So letting those meet. See how these are meeting right there? Dropping down, meeting, dropping down, giving that a nice aura. Just kind of sliding off the side of that. Such a pretty tangle. And last one right here. And so there you have that beautiful tangle here, birchy. Go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to learn a new pattern. So we're going to come in and learn a new tangle. This one's called Mariposa, and it's by a gal named Varney Kiarney. I think that's how she pronounces it, and I really apologize if I didn't get it right. So we're going to learn this in a fragment form. So you're going to see me come in here, and this is one of those tangles that I love because it gives you a meta tangle. And what that means is that you start to see another tangle while you're doing this tangle. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to make some dots on either side here, and then I'm going to make a dot at the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and create this V-like shape. You can see it's got a curve to it. And then I'm going to come up to the top and create this kind of soft arc that comes down. Now, once I have that, I'll come in and I'll do a very soft aura. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to give this a nice embellishment here. Just like so. And then finally you're going to see me bring a little teardrop shape or a seed-like shape into these areas right here. Now watch what happens with this. I'm just going to continue on and give it another box here. And watch what happens if I flip the fragment. So when I say I'm flipping the fragment, I'm literally flipping it. So I'm just going to come in here, create this nice V-like shape, coming up, create the arc, nice aura, nice embellishment here, and then once again, seed-like shape, seed-like shape. Oh, look who just showed up. Butterfly. Hence the name Mariposa. So isn't that cool? Such a pretty tangle. So let's go ahead and bring this into our piece. So I've picked up my graphite pencil here, and we're going to start by making a soft grid. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come to the middle of the top here, make a little dot, and then I'm going to just very gently hand make a little line coming down. No, I'm not going to use a ruler because I just don't like using them. And, for me, the Zentangle method is all about just, freehanding it. So I'm just going to come in here and start to make some squares. And you can see that I'm doing my best to create the grid. And then I'll come down here and make another one that's going to go through just like so. And you can see that it's coming through right at about the midpoint of the wing and going across just like so. And I think I'll make another one right here. So you can see this is what my grid looks like. So go ahead and make your grid, and when we come back, we're going to start with the pattern. So I've got my graphite pencil in my hand, and I'm going to continue to use it because we're going to have a lot of hollybaw going on in here, and it could make it a little tricky. So I'm going to start by bringing in a dot at the bottom and 2 dots at the side. Same thing here. And all I'm going to do is start by creating those nice V-like shapes, just like so. Once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and create that arc that's going to go across the top here. Nice soft arc going across the top. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do an aura that's nice and gentle. Nice aura over here. And then I'm going to start to bring in those embellishments, right? So here we go. I've got this embellishment there, there, and there. Same thing over here. And then remember that seed-like shape and a seed-like shape. Same thing over here. Same thing over here. So hopefully you have that. If you need to pause me here, this is a great place to do it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on going. So I'm going to turn the piece and I'm going to start to flip. Now here's where things get interesting because, you're looking at this and thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? So I'm just going to start by looking at this, and I can already see that this line is a little bit off. So I'm just going to fix it while I have the opportunity to turn that into a square again. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to put that little dot right over there. Now I can't do the other dot because the head of the hummingbird is there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let this one come through, but you can see that I lift it up around the beak, and then I'm going to go around, and I'm just thinking that it landed right about there, right? I'm going to do the top now, where I do that really nice little arch, and a nice little arch. Oh, there's the hummingbird again, so we can't go through it, but we're pretending that we are. And then we're going to do an aura, and then we're going to do another aura. Okay? So this one is also going to have the embellishment going through, so you can see that I'm just bringing that embellishment around the beak here. This is why, we sometimes we can do things in pencil that will help us along with something that's tricky. And then I'm going to go ahead and do another set of those seeds here. So I'm just looking at this and wondering if I can do any more, but I don't think I can. And then I'm shifting over here. So once again, the idea is that I'm going to pretend like this is coming out to meet that point, and this one's going out to meet that point. But in both places, we've got the bird there, right? So we're just going to do our best. And then in here, you can see that I'm just going to pretend to bring that arc in and give it a little bit of an aura. And I can pretend to give it another one over there. I'm going to come through just like I would be embellishing it. This one, you won't see that one. And so I'll come in and I'll do my seeds, just like so. Now, as we get further down, I have to turn back because remember the pattern is flipping, right? So I'm just going to come in and pretend like I'm just going to continue the pattern, right? So this is going to look like a V going out. This is going to look like a V going out. This one's going to have an arc that's going to come out and meet it, looking like it's going behind the bird, coming over here. So, that continuation of pattern, trying to continue it anyway, is important. So I'll come in and I'll give this the little seed-like shapes. Now over here you can see that a lot of this is covered by the leaf, but we can still add the idea in that there's something going on behind. So I kind of missed that, so good thing I'm using a pencil, right? So I'm going to get it to line up right there. And just making it look like there's something going on behind it. And then once again letting that line go down so that it's giving that illusion. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to flip again. I'm going to come in here, make that little V-like shape. I can give myself a little place to land over here. Once I have that, I can put in that little seed. And then I can also make it look like that arc is continuing. We can continue with making it look like there's embellishments in there. And I think that's about as much as I can do in that area, but that really makes it look like the pattern continues on, which is really important here. So I hope you were able to get that in yours, and if you need to pause me and get those things in there, go ahead and do so. So once you've got your grid and your tangle in there the way that you like it, you can start to come in and ink it in. You can see that I'm just going to start by working one square at a time here. And this is where you can clean up your lines and really make it as nice as you want it to be. That's why I love doing grids in pencil first. I find those to be a little bit more challenging for me, grid tangles, but for every person it's different. So you can see that I'm just going in and inking in where I started here. And then I'll come and do the reflection down below. And I'm going to bring in the line as well just to keep this really interesting here. And I'll also do the line going across. So you get the idea of what I'm up to here. So you go ahead and ink in yours as well. I love the way that looks. I hope that you're enjoying the way yours looks too. I know it's a little tricky down here, but once you've got it, it really creates this almost stained glass window effect behind the hummingbird. So let's go ahead and add some embellishment to our hummingbird here. Let's start with his wing. I'm going to come in and you can see that I've got my graphite pencil in my hand here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come down from the tip and just connect right there. Once I have that, I'm going to turn the wing and I'm going to do these little soft leaves that are going to come from the valleys in our little wing here. See how there's a little valley right there? And all I'm doing is just giving that a slight wave to it, letting it come in. Almost like I'm doing flux with that leaf there. Isn't that so pretty? I love the way that looks. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come around to where the neck is here, and I'm just going to create a little soft line that's going to come right into the wing, just like so. And this is going to give us a place where we can start to tangle underneath his neck here, or her neck. I think it's going to be a he because the boys have more color, so I'm going to refer to him as a he. So I'm coming in right underneath that line that I just did here, and I'm just going to create a little bit of an arc. And then I'll go ahead and I'll do a narrow arc. Once I have that, I'm going to do one more. This one's going to be a little bit wider. And then I'll do another narrow one. Now for this part, all I'm going to do is I'm going to create these kind of petal-like shapes that are just going to come down just like so. And then once I have that, down at the bottom here you can see that I've got this little indentation. I'm going to make a line that's going to land right here. So it's going to make it look like this kind of comes across. We're going to do another mandala right underneath, so it's just going to go arc. And then I'm going to do a wider arc. And then I'll do a narrow arc just like so. And then once I have that, I'm going to do the same thing that I was doing before, where I'm trying to create these kind of soft petals that are coming in, or soft feathers that are coming into our hummingbird, so that it gives us a really nice feel. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine, and then when we come back, I'm going to start to ink in. So to ink this in, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in right where I started here and just ink in this line right here. And then I'll start to bring in some detailing into these little arcs that I have here. So you can see that I'm just coming in and doing those. Now in this one in particular, I'm just going to do some lines just to give this a little bit of definition here. Now once I've got those lines the way that I want them, I'm going to come down to the petals and ink them in. And once I've got that in, I'm going to create a little Y-like shape. I'll show you what I mean. Let me zoom in on this. I'm going to just create a little Y and let it attach. And that just brings in a little bit of detailing into the wing, or into the body of our hummingbird here, which I think looks really nice. Now the ones down below I'm not really able to do that with, but what I am able to do is come in and ink these in, and once again with the lines. So that's the detailing I'm going to do. I am going to do an outline of our hummingbird here, and I am going to work on his beak. So you're going to see me just do a little triangle right there, and then I'm going to pool my ink into his beak. Just like so. And then I'll just go in and I'll start to ink around the outside of my hummingbird. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine. Isn't that so fun? I just love the way this looks. This is going to be a really fun one. Now I know you're probably thinking, wow, this is really busy. Don't worry about that. As soon as we bring color into the mix, it's really going to pop. Now, I want to talk about the eye of my hummingbird here. The last time we've been doing it, we just, put in a little dot, but I love to see a little bit of dreaminess in my hummingbirds sometimes. And so I'm just going to do a little happy face or a little arc there. And I'll just bring in my pen and do that. I did the first one with a little bit of graphite there, but I just like it to feel very dreamy and sweet. So there you have it. That's how I'm going to handle the eye of the hummingbird. So when we come back, we're going to start to work with color, and this is really just going to make this whole thing pop. So I have the Prismacolor Cobalt Turquoise in my hand, and it is PC 105. You can see that mine is a little bit worn away, but that is the name of the color that I'm using. If you don't have that, you can use True Blue in lieu of it. You can use Aquamarine in lieu of it. There's many different colors you can use. It's kind of a nice teal blue. And I'm going to start inside of our fragment here that we were working with earlier. And I'm going to start by doing a very, very light dusting of that cobalt turquoise in here. You can see that my pencil is really well sharpened up. And remember, when you're working with color, you want to just lightly, lightly dust the page with your color pencil here. You can always go darker later. So I'm just giving this a really, really light dusting, getting that in there. And then once I've got that in there the way that I want it, you can see I'm not doing any blending just yet. And let's zoom in on that a little bit more for you. I'm going to create a little bit of a shadow here around the butterfly. So I'm giving this medium pressure here. You can see that that's already starting to give this a little bit of detailing. Coming over to the other side and giving that a little bit of detailing. And then I'll come up to the top and give that a little bit of a shadow. You can see I'm going to turn the tile to make it work for my hands here. And then I'm going to come right back down to the bottom again, and I'm going to push really a little bit harder on that black line of where that butterfly is. So I'm just giving this extra push. And then I'm going to pick up my white Prismacolor pencil. This is PC 938. And I'm going to start by doing a little bit of blending here. You can see that I'm just doing a soft bit of circling around where I have the darkness at the top, and I'm going to let it kind of glide through the mid section of our piece here. So you can see that I'm just doing little circles, letting it glide right through there, and I'm starting to let it make its way down, getting some nice drama. We really want this to kind of feel pastel-y and soft. Isn't that so pretty? Love the way that looks. So you can see that that gives it a really nice soft feel. And any place where you're seeing any grit or anything on your paper, you can really go back in and work with that white pencil. So I'm going to go through and do all of those little areas that I have in here, just giving it that treatment. You go ahead and do yours as well. So you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around with this, and I already love the way that it's looking. I hope you do too. I also carried it down here just in these areas just because I know that I'm not going to be able to tangle down here, and I really wanted my leaves to kind of pop forward, so I carried that down there as well. I'm going to come back up to where we have these seed-like shapes, and I'm just going to do a light dusting of the blue in here, and you'll notice that I'm leaving the central channel light. Let's go ahead and zoom in on that. And then I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit more of a pop there, just a little bit darker. Can see that I have my white in my hand here, and all I'm going to do is just blur it together so you can see that that highlight stays in the middle but the darkness stays on the edges, which is really kind of nice. So I'm going to go through with all of my seeds and do that as well. Love the way that looks. So we're going to let go of the blues and we're going to start with some yellows and orange. I have goldenrod in my hand, which is PC1034, and I also have orange in my hand, PC918. Now remember, if you don't have the same colors as me, just try to get in the same hue. I'm really just looking for a yellow and an orange. I love this color just because it's so earthy. So I'm going to start by focusing in on the butterfly here, and I'm going to do a soft dusting of the goldenrod in there just to give this a little bit of that earthy feel. And you can see that I'm working around the blue, trying to keep it from getting in there, and I'm just going very, very lightly. Coming in on the other side. Really keeping it nice and soft. Once I've got that the way that I want it, I'm going to come in with a little bit of the orange, and I'm going to add a dusting of that orange into the corner here. I'll go up to the top, coming down on the bottom here a little bit, and down into the center. Just kind of lightly moving around into each corner, giving this a little bit of interest. Once I've got it the way that I want it, I'm going to come in with a little bit of that goldenrod again, and I'm going to push a little bit harder and blur the edges out of that orange. Over here. You can see that that's starting to give this a little of a sheen in the center, which I think is really beautiful, and it gets your attention right away. Coming up and over. And then once I've got it the way that I want it, I'll pick up a little bit of that white. Now you want to make sure that there's no blue on this. And then you can come in and start to blur that out a little bit, or give it a little bit of a blend. You want to be really careful around that blue because that white will pick up the blue and start to move it around. So keep that white away from the blue as much as you can. And you can see that this is really making that butterfly up. You can see I picked up a little bit of that blue. But you can see that it makes it look really, really pretty. Doesn't it look nice? So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do all of mine just that way. I love the way that earthiness of color looks together. It just really brings a subtle bit of elegance into this piece. I'm going to go ahead and take some of that yellow again, and I'm just going to bring it into this piece right in here where we have a little bit of the lines inside of the hummingbird, and I'm just going to dust it really lightly in there. I'm also going to come into the areas where we have the Y, but you'll notice that at the tip of it, I'm not going to bring that yellow into that area. I'm just doing a light dusting of it into the mandala that's inside of the bird here. I'm going to come down here and do the same thing that I just did up top, and that's all the yellow that I'm going to use inside the bird. The reason why I brought that yellow in is because I want the bird to have a little bit of the color that's on the outside. It just makes your eye go inward. So once I've got that the way I want it, I'm going to let go of the yellow just for a little while, and I'm going to pick up some greens. I have in my hand lime peel green, which is PC1005, and I also have in my hand the olive green, which is PC911. I really love the combination of these two together. So we're going to start to focus on the leaves here, and I'm just going to do a demonstration of the leaves, and then I'm going to set you loose on them here. So I'm going to start by coming in with the lime peel green first, and I'm going to do a really soft dusting at the bottom and a really soft dusting at the top, leaving a little bit of a white sheen in the center. And I'm going to continue that whole thing right all the way through here. So you're going to see me go through and do the same thing in this area as well. Now once I've got that the way that I want it, I'm going to come in with a little bit of that olive green, and I'm going to start to dust with that olive green in here to give a little bit of drama, and in here and give a little bit of drama. You'll notice I'm going to come and do that same thing on the other side here, and then I'll go ahead and give that a blur out. So I'm using that lime peel green to blur it out to give this a really neat look. Look at how pretty that is together. Those two colors work so well together. There are some colors in the Prisma set that just have that magic, and these two definitely have it. And look at how beautiful that comes together. So go ahead and do all of yours. I'm going to do mine, and then when we come back, we're going to focus in on our hummingbird. Isn't that a beautiful tangle to shade? Love shading that one. So we're going to let go of those greens that we have here, and I'm going to switch over to some colder greens. I have in my hand the true green, which is PC910. It's kind of like a minty color green. And then I have kind of a foresty green in my hand. This is grass green, PC909. And then finally I'm going to work with some crimson red, which is PC924. So let's focus in on our bird here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And I'm just going to start with a little bit of that crimson red first. And I'm going to start by dusting in very lightly. I want you to imagine that you're tickling a baby with the pencil here. Just really lightly dusting in the head of the hummingbird here. So you can see I'm going all the way through. And I've got a really nice light dusting. Now I'm going to start to just bring in a little bit of pressure to get the richness of color that I'm looking for here. I'm going to go over to the other side and do the same, leaving the lightness in the middle. And then I'll come around underneath here and just give this a little bit of a dusting there as well. Now once I've got that, I'm going to press a little bit harder and give this a little bit more intensity. And then once I've got that, I'm going to pick up my white, making sure that there's no other color on there. So if there's green on yours, make sure that it's gone. And you're going to come in and just start to blend in around the eye. And remember, you can always come back in later and add a little bit of extra ink to it if it gets a little bit murky underneath the white. So I've got that. I'm going to pick back up a little bit of that red, just clean up the outside lines a little bit so I don't lose the intensity. Just like so. So you go ahead and do the head of your bird. I'm going to do mine, and then when we come back, we're going to start to work with the body a little bit. I'm going to take that red that we were using up top and start to bring it down below here and just add a little bit of dusting into the little mandala that's in his tail here. You'll notice that I'm going to leave a little light source there, and then I'm going to press a little bit harder just to get a little extra drama out of that. Can pick up some of your white and blur the edges if you want to, just like so. I'm going to also bring in a little bit of that red into these little diamonds that we have, and you'll notice that I'm going to leave the tips white. So I'm just adding just a skosh of that red in there, nothing too big. You can see that I'm working in small spaces too, so just a little bit of that red right into those little diamonds. So I'm going to bring in these new greens that I have in here. So what I really want to talk about just for a quick second is these are really warm greens that we have here. And so that's why I'm switching over to cool greens. Now, if you don't have that many greens in your set, you can always layer with blue and get a cooler green out of your warm greens, okay? Just a thought for those of you who don't have a lot of different colors in your set. So I'm going to work with the true green here, and I'm just going to start by coming into this area where the mandala is right underneath his neck, and then I'm also going to start to bring that into the area around his body here. So you're going to see that I'm just going to start to dust this in with the true green, and I'll also bring that down into his tail area or the lower half of his body here. You can see that I'm just bringing that in. I'm going to let it run along his belly, but I am going to leave a little bit of that white in there too. Once I've got that, I'm going to bring in some of that grass green, and this is what's going to make this really interesting and give this a little bit of pop. So there's a little bit of that there, and then I'm going to go into these little valleys that we have in between and give that a little pop. And then also at the very end of his body and along the black line here. Now once I've got that, I'm going to take a little bit of that true green and blur the edge of where the grass green is meeting it. You can see that it's getting a really nice texture to it. And then I'll also do the same in here. Once I've got that the way that I want it, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that white, making sure there's nothing else on it, and I'll soften it out. Any places where I've got edges, I just want to soften. So no line of demarcations on the body of this bird. Really keeping it nice and smooth. Coming up in here and giving this a little blur out. You can come down in here and blur out if you want to go. Just make sure that there's no green on there. And so you can see that that's really bringing in a real nice softness to the piece. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and when we come back, we're going to add just a touch more green, and then we're going to start to pick up some graphite too. So I've got a little bit of that grass green in my hand. This is the darker green, and I'm just going to do a dusting of that darker green in here, and then give it a little bit of a push as I get closer to where his head is, and then the same thing over here. Once I have that, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that white and blur the line of demarcation in here. Now, if you need to pause me here, this is a great place to do it. Otherwise, I'm going to come in with a little bit of my graphite pencil here, and we're going to start to just bring in a little bit of subtle lowlights to this. So I'm just going to come in, and this is just a number 2 pencil. It just happens to be a mechanical pencil. And all I'm doing is bringing in a very soft shadow into the wing of our hummingbird. You can see that I've got a blending stump here. If you don't have one of those, you can pick up a little Q-tip from the bathroom, and that'll do just fine. So you can see that I'm just going in and giving that a little bit of a blur. And then I'll come back in with that graphite pencil and press a little bit harder just to get a little bit more shadow on that. And I'll go ahead again and just give that a very soft blur, trying to leave some of the lightness that's below it so that you have kind of that nice gradation in there, which is really a good thing to have in the wing. I'm also going to bring in a little bit of graphite into the beautiful mandala that is around his neck, and I'll just blend that in, leaving a little bit of a light source in the center. And then down where we have a little bit of his tail here, I'm going to give this a little bit of graphite. Notice how I'm leaving some light there at the tips. And then I'm also going to come back in and press a little bit harder, just to give that a little bit of a shadow, keeping that really pretty. So you go ahead and do yours, I'm going to do mine, and then when we come back, we're going to start to do some work in the background. I've picked up my Identa pen. This is a great pen because it has a thick nib on one side and it's got a finer tip on the other side. So if I can enable you to have more pens, the Identa pen is one of my favorites. So I'm going to come in with the Identa pen and I'm going to start to come into these areas where we have the diamonds here, and you're going to see me just start to bring in a little bit of that darkness into the piece here. And what I love about this is that it gives it a really nice graphic feel. And so I'm going to do this in all of the diamonds that I have in my piece here. So you can see that that Identa pen really is wonderful for working in these spaces. So I'm going to fill in the space here, in here, up in here, and over here. You go ahead and do yours as well. I just love the way that black just makes the hummingbird pop forward. It gives it such a kick, which I really love. So I'm going to pick up a white Jelly Roll pen, and I happen to have the Mizu Love in my hand, but whatever your favorite Jelly Roll is, go for it. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do just a little bit of an echo line, and we're going to do a tangle called Zonked, and Zonked is such an easy tangle that you're just going to see me demonstrate it here. So I'm going to do 3 of these, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and give this a little bit of pooling of ink right at the tip. And I love that it gives it this really neat graphic feel. So I'm just going to go ahead and do another one on this side. Pulling my ink on the tip. And already you can see that's really interesting. Now, because we don't have any way for you to see what's over here, I am going to do this on this side. And you can see that I'm going to kind of holly-baw through here. And I'll just bring in a little bit like that. Look at already how cool that is. It really gives it a unique feel. I'm going to do the same thing up top, but I'm going to have them going downward. This will only be able to do half, but it's still interesting enough. And then I'll go over to the other side, and you'll notice that I'm being very careful about where I put my hands here because I don't want to smear or smudge it. I'm just bringing a little bit there. But look at how neat that really gives this such an interesting feel. So I hope you'll try it on yours. And then when we come back, we're going to do some finishing touches. So for a final touch, I'm going to come in with my crimson and just do a little bit of a dusting of that just halfway on the berries that are around the head of the hummingbird and around the butterflies here. You can see I'm just going in halfway with these and giving it a little bit of a dusting. So finally, I'm just going to go ahead and add my chop into the piece here, and I'm going to bring it in right down at the bottom where I can just kind of hide it into the piece. I hope you enjoyed the class today. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, or even better, give it a nice review. And even best, hit the subscribe button. If you want to share this with a friend, please tell friends what you're up to. This is really fun, and sharing Zentangle with people that you love, it just brings a little bit of light and joy into their life, and it also helps people to find me doing color and Zentangle on YouTube. So that's it for me. I'm Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. I hope you'll join us over on the Tangled Yogi Art Community page on Facebook and share your work. All you have to do is answer the security questions, and you're in with a whole new group of friends. All right, I'll see you next week for the Seekers of Sweetness, week number 4.